Every other video that I've made this month on Black history was made just so that I could make this one video. Let's talk about eugenics. Eugenics was a movement or a theory that scientists believed that they could create the perfect race through genetics. Eugenics is a set of beliefs and practices which aim to improve the genetic quality of the human population. The eugenics conversation began in Europe in 1883, but the movement got going in the United States around 1907. The targets of the eugenics movement were those who were seen as unfit for society, so the poor, the disabled, the mentally ill, and specific communities of color. They were all labeled feeble-minded people. Scientists believe that differences in a person's ability were acquired primarily through genetics, and that eugenics could be implemented through selective breeding in order for the human race to improve itself overall. American eugenicists believed in the genetic superiority of Nordic, Germanic, and Anglo-Saxon people. So, what did the government and the eugenicists do with everybody else? 3 tools were used to deal with everybody else, and they were mass deportations, segregation, and sterilizations. Black people were Americans by default, but everyone else, especially Jewish people and Asian people, were either removed from the country or prevented from coming in. But they had other plans for my people. I've talked about how we fought to be educated. There were not enough of us fully educated, though, at that time to not be considered feeble-minded. So we were undereducated in the eyes of the eugenicists, and that made us feeble-minded by default. We built communities on the lands that we barely were allowed, and this was the beginning of segregation. But the most painful tool used were sterilizations. Black women were sterilized against their will. Black women were targeted because of racist beliefs that associated African American people with poverty, crime, and low intelligence. We were considered to be promiscuous and loose as well. White supremacists viewed sterilization as a way to reduce the Black population and prevent the contamination of the gene pool. In 1930, the Negro Project was started by the American Birth Control League. And by the way, this later became Planned Parenthood. And it was headed by this chick named Margaret Sanger. And she was a eugenicist. This league strategically placed education clinics in specific neighborhoods, education clinics. And they were claiming to teach Black women about reproduction and family planning. Women were offered a variety of various types of birth control, in hopes to reduce their numbers. These tools weren't working fast enough, though, so laws were written making it legal to sterilize Black women without their consent. Women would go to the doctor to have routine medical procedures like getting their appendix taken out, and they would wake up sterilized. Or they would go in and have babies and have C-sections, and they'd wake up sterilized. And it was traumatizing. And they also talked about euthanizing feeble-minded babies. Remember, you only had to be Black. You were born feeble-minded, so they wanted to kill us. They wanted to wipe us out. So we fought to be educated, fought to build communities like Rosewood, Black Wall Street, and even more, only to have them burned to the ground. We couldn't get federal loans for homes because we were in red line neighborhoods. And on top of that, we were having our rights to have children stripped from us and without our control, all in the name of population control to create a pure race. Wow. But here's the thing. Later on, white women saw what we had access to and they wanted it too. But birth control wasn't meant for white women. It was just meant for us. And they were encouraged to breed because, they needed to create more white people. But they were like, no. Like, we want what they got. Like, we want autonomy over our body. We want to be able to go to the clinic. We want what they have. And only when that happened did laws start getting passed to ban everything. I'm going to say this forever and ever. While white women were fighting to have birth control, We were just fighting to have healthy babies. Now, there's a reason why I wanted to talk about this. Mass deportations was a part of eugenics. Lack of education for certain people was part of eugenics. Reduced medical resources was a part of eugenics. And women having no autonomy over their bodies was a part of eugenics. Does any of this sound familiar